Hiya, my name is Jess and today I'm going to be doing a recommendation video for you. Today I'm going to be recommending you some contemporary books. I have 7 books here to recommend for you. Obviously I would have liked to include more on the list because there are so many great ones out there I love, but I couldn't fit them all in because it would be really long and really boring to edit. So let's just get on with the first book on this list, which is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. And for this I really had to do a toss-up because I only wanted to include one Rainbow Rowell book, so it was between this and Eleanor and Park, and eventually Fangirl won out. Fangirl is the story of Kath, who is an 18-year-old girl who is just starting her freshman year of college. Kath is an avid fanfiction writer, and for almost as long as she can remember, she's written fanfiction for a series of books centering around Simon Snow, which is a series that's loosely based on the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Kath has sort of always relied on her extroverted older sister Ren to get her through social situations, but now she's at college, Ren is sort of off doing her own thing and leaves Kath on her own. This novel is really about Kath trying to reconcile her old life with the new one she experiences at college. And it's also a really great ode to fandom and to how the books and stories that shape you never really leave you. I would definitely recommend this novel. Rainbow Rowell has such a unique way of writing contemporaries. She writes in third person, which is quite unusual, especially for YA, but that doesn't distance you from the characters at all. Kath feels like she has a really distinct voice, as do so many of the characters in this novel. For me, particular standouts were definitely Levi and Reagan. Rainbow Rowell has this great balance between writing humour and writing emotions, and the result of that, the mood that comes out of this, is one that feels really sincere and genuine and unexpectedly moving. The next book on the list is one that I haven't actually finished yet, but I'm loving it so much I had to include it, and that is The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks by E. Lockhart. The Disreputable History is a story of a girl called Frankie Landau Banks who is a sophomore at a private school. And over the summer she's undergone one of those transformations from a very awkward tween girl to an attractive young woman, and she's started to catch the eye of some of the boys from her school, particularly the very popular senior Matthew Livingston. Now at Frankie's school they have this male exclusive organisation that tries as she might, Frankie isn't actually allowed to join. So what Frankie does is she kind of takes the identity of one of the members of this order and starts sending messages and spreading rumours and just doing all wonderful things to try and undermine the society. I had read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart and I hadn't enjoyed it that much, so I was really surprised when I opened this book and I was just immediately sucked into it. This novel explores themes of feminism in a way that I'd never really seen explored in YA before. Frankie is an unbelievably smart young woman, but she is constantly underestimated by people around her, and it is just so satisfying to see her rise up and show them that she is more than they think she is. E. Lockhart's a wonderful writer. She has this way of constructing a novel that just builds up suspense in such a great and intriguing way. I just think this is a really important book that kind of explores feminism in today's society, and particularly with teenage girls, where it isn't really as explored as I think it maybe should be. The next book I have to recommend to you is a book series, and it is The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. The Princess Diaries is the story of Mia Thermopolis, who is a girl who one day finds out that she is the heir to a small principality in Europe. This novel takes place in diary format, and what I love about it is Meg Cabot does such a great job of capturing the exact voice of a teenage girl. The novels follow Mia from the age of 14 to the age of 18, so throughout her entire high school experience. There are 10 books, and each of them I feel just keeps getting better and better, with the 10th definitely being my favourite. Mia is just such a likeable and relatable narrator, and I just found myself laughing out loud so many times over the course of reading this series. In my opinion, it's up there with some of the most influential series I've ever read, because I picked these books up when I was around 13 or 14 and I finished reading them when I was around 15, so I sort of grew up with them a little bit, and I definitely felt myself developing as Mia developed, and it's just a really satisfying series to read. The next book is An Abundance of Katherines by John Green. An Abundance of Katherines is the story of Colin, who is a former child prodigy who has dated and been dumped by 19 girls called Katherine. So he and his best friend Hassan decide to go on a road trip after the latest dumping, and whilst on this road trip, Colin decides that there is a formula that can determine when and who will break up with who in a relationship. This book is so great. John Green gets criticised a lot for being quite a pretentious writer, and whilst I do admit that I can see where that argument is coming from, I just think that this novel proves that he can do humour just as well as all that sad and intense stuff. This book is unbelievably funny, and I love reading it when I'm in a reading slump because it's one of those fun, sort of moving books that can get you out of a reading slump really easily. It's not too serious, but at the same time it's not serious, if that makes any sense. It has a really great balance between slightly deeper undertones and between humour, and that's something that I think John Green does well in all of his books, but particularly in this one. So the next book I have to recommend to you is a bit of an obvious one, and it is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, or really any of Stephanie Perkins' books, but I think this is my favourite out of the three. Anna and the French Kiss is about a girl called Anna who has a very rich novelist father who decides to send her to study at a Parisian boarding school for her senior year. At this boarding school, she meets this gorgeous boy called Etienne St. Clair, but unfortunately, despite the attraction that she feels for him, Etienne already has a girlfriend. I was so hesitant about picking this book up last year because everything about it, the title, the synopsis, just sounded like something that would be so difficult to pull off. I could not have been more wrong. Stephanie Perkins does such a great job with this novel. It literally feels like every rom-com you could have ever wanted smushed into a book in the most adorable way. This is probably the most romantic book I've ever read, and you can just tell that Stephanie Perkins loves writing it. Anna again has a really distinct voice, as do all the characters in this novel, and the humour in it is something that surprised me a lot because it's genuinely really funny. This is another really satisfying reading slump book. It's a book that I love to read specifically in the winter when it's rainy outside and I'm feeling down, because reading Stephanie Perkins books makes it feel like it's Christmas every day in Disney World. The final two books I have to recommend to you are kind of linked, so I might do them together right now, and they are Saving Francesca and The Piper's Son by Melina Marchetta. So Saving Francesca is about a girl called Francesca Spinelli who has just been moved from her old school in Australia to another school which used to be male only, but they've recently made it co-ed by adding like 30 girls in. Francesca's struggling a lot. She doesn't really know how to make friendships. People at her old college kind of suppressed her really outgoing and bubbly personality, and she's just finding it really hard to find that again. Things go from bad to worse when the biggest force in Francesca's life, her mother, doesn't get out of bed one morning and is diagnosed with depression. This is a really beautiful novel, and something that Melina Marchetta does so well is she kind of captures family life and school life in such an accurate way that I have never seen another novelist do. I was reading this and thinking, yes, that is exactly what school is like. Yes, that is exactly what family is like. And whilst a really important aspect of this book is friendships, and it's the friendships that Francesca goes on to develop, and I loved that, what I loved the most about it, I think, is the family element, because family is something that I really wish was explored a lot more in YA, because I love my family. And it just makes me really happy when I see families in novels that connect and share and love each other. It's also, I felt, a really honest depiction of mental illness and depression and the effect it can have on the people around someone that has something like depression. Whilst this is definitely quite a simple book, not that much happens plot-wise, I think that it's actually one of the most affecting YA books I've read. So moving on to Piper's Son. The Piper's Son is set about 5 years after the events of Saving Francesca, and it follows a minor character from that book called Tom Mackey. So Tom's family, the Finch Mackeys, are really struggling after Tom's uncle Joe was killed in the London tube station bombings in 2002. Tom himself went down a particularly dark path, especially when his family unit at home fell apart. He got into a lot of bad situations, into a lot of drugs, and this novel kind of starts just as he comes out of that period of his life, and when he moves in with his pregnant aunt Georgie, who actually shares half of the scenes in this book. It's a dual perspective between Tom and his aunt. This book for me, at its heart, is just about a grieving family trying to find its way back together, and Melina Marchetta explores this in such a kind of gentle and moving way. Tom's family all have this really sort of dark, sarcastic humour that is threaded throughout the book, and it just works really well. Melina Marchetta just does such a great job at writing human characters and relatable emotions, and by the end of this book I was just in love with every single one of the characters. So those were all my recommendations for you. Thank you for watching and I will see you soon.